So many veterans think that in order to achieve a 100% VA disability rating, you need these catastrophic injuries, these catastrophic ailments. But little do they know that anxiety is actually a massive VA disability rating, and most people who have anxiety that's service related are underrated or are struggling to get it service connected in the first place. Today, I'm going to reveal all for you so that hopefully it takes some anxiety out of the process itself and you can set your loved ones up for life with that VA rating that you deserve at last. I'm Jordan Anderson with VA Claims Academy. Let's get right into it. Let me tell you what the vast majority of even people who teach how to win VA claims, what they missed specifically with anxiety VA ratings. And that is the fact that the disability in and of itself makes it nearly impossible to go forward with applying for your VA claim. That anxiety is compounded with the existing stress of the VA claims process. So here we have some cute animals here, just to let you know that you're on the right path. Doing this preliminary research, you're on the right track, and that's all that's needed to be done here. You don't have to worry about memorizing everything that I'm going to say. Just kind of sit here and absorb, get the big picture down, and I'll make sure that you have it. This rating can be life-changing in terms of the income that it could provide to you and your loved ones. We're talking about thousands of dollars per month. You're talking about up to $4,000 per month tax-free, that could really set you and your loved ones up. So a lot of times that anxiety, that fear, when you get those aha moments, those light bulb moments, which hopefully this video has a few of those for you today, that fear can actually be translated and turn into excitement for this new filing. So with that, let's get further deep in. Here's exactly how to win. I like to keep things super easy, ridiculously simple. We're gonna go 1, 2, and 3. Easy as that, right? What is this? I'm going to lay out first the 3 phases of any VA claim, and this is hugely important because this will allow you to troubleshoot and pivot when things may go wrong, when you encounter resistance with your VA disability, whether you've been denied in the past or if this is your first time. So number 1 is going to be getting a diagnosis. When I say get a diagnosis, I mean a medical diagnosis on record. So if you're claiming anxiety, you need to be diagnosed with anxiety on record. Why is this important? Well, because the 3 phases logically are just the order in which your person rating your VA disability claim, so your VA rater or rating adjudicator, is going to go through when they're looking at your file. Okay? All right, I got John's paperwork, I got Jane's paperwork in front of me. They're claiming anxiety. Well, are they diagnosed with it? That's their first question. What's the next question? Okay, clearly they have anxiety. Now, are we as the VA on the hook for it? How do we know if they're on the hook? Because is it service connected? If it's service connected, then that's how you get paid, right? By the VA. It's worth mentioning that about 80% of you watching me right now who've been denied for your mental condition have been denied not because you didn't have a diagnosis, but because they acknowledge that you have a disability. It might even say that in your decision letter, but because they just don't believe that it's connected to your military service. So as I take these one by one, we'll spend a lot of time troubleshooting that second stage because that's where 80% of us get hung up on. And then the last one, right? Let's just think about this logically. Okay, Jane here has a diagnosis and I can see that this is connected to service, whether she complained about it in military service. Yeah, right. Or more likely, okay, maybe you have a Nexus Letter, we'll get into all that. But anyway, it's deemed service connected. What's the last portion to where, okay, we're gonna be paying something, but how much do we pay out? What rating do we actually give this veteran? Well, that's determined by the severity, which is number 3. How about that? We're only a few minutes in and you already know more than maybe 80 to 90% of veterans about how VA disability claims work. 1, 2, and 3. Again, do you have a medical diagnosis? That's how the VA knows that it's real, because it's on paper. Is this connected to service? We'll spend a lot of time on how to make that connection work, even if you don't have military records from service, which is 90% of us, right? And lastly, how severe is it, right? Not in reality, but through the lens of the VA's own rating Bible, we should call it, right? 38 CFR. We'll spend some time on that as well, so that way, when you do get the rating, you can actually maximize it and maximize that income. Let's take these one by one, but first, if you're getting value from this video, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Let's briefly touch on a diagnosis, because it could actually be a little bit more complex than what people lead on, right? It's like, okay, you go to the doctor and they diagnose you, everything's easy, life's good, right? Sometimes that doesn't happen. A lot of times, especially if you're maybe going to the VA doctor, or if you're watching me, you're currently active duty right now. On active duty, they like to send you to the behavioral health clinic, and they hardly diagnose there, right? It's the mental health clinic that you need the referral to, and it could still take multiple appointments to actually receive a medical diagnosis. But regardless, how you're going to know whether you're diagnosed with something is you're going to want to keep an eye on your medical record. So if you're going to the VA doctor, you can go to My Health eVet. I'll leave the link to that in the description below and the pinned comment for you. Or you could just call up the office and ask them, hey, can I get my records from last week? And they can give you instructions on how to get that. But you want to see an official diagnosis. Maybe for you, this could be called something called generalized anxiety disorder. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if it's just in the notes where your doctor says, hey, patient comes complaining that they feel anxious, but they don't have an actual diagnosis, right? Generalized anxiety disorder, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, that could be problematic to the VA at times. It could hang things up. So do what you got to do to go to the doctor, and you could even get more sort of on the nose with it. If you've been going, you clearly have anxiety, sometimes maybe even they put you on medication, but they haven't diagnosed you yet, you could ask for the diagnosis in a way that's not offending the doctor. Like, hey, doctor, I've been coming for a while. I noticed that I've been having these symptoms, but haven't gotten an official diagnosis yet. So I'm just curious at what you think this is that I'm dealing with. And they can kind of get the hint there, all right? That is the first step, and you're well on your way to getting that rating. Let's go to 2. Just curious if you remember what's next after. What is the rater looking at, right? When they're looking at Jane, or they're looking at John's file for a VA claim. They see that you have a diagnosis. What's next that they're determining whether they're on the hook or not to pay you? Service connection. Are you service connected for this condition? Was this caused by your military service? Or more advanced, what we do for a lot of clients at VA Claims Academy is this connected to an existing condition that the VA has already rated at 0% or higher? 0% or higher. I'll give you an example. Something like high blood pressure, something like hearing loss, actually. Oftentimes a 0% rating, even if you need a hearing aid, right? But hearing loss could trigger anxiety. Hearing loss very much could trigger anxiety, becoming withdrawn, antisocial. Even though hearing loss is a 0% rating for you, you could actually get your anxiety service connected by doing what's called a secondary claim, claiming it secondary to your hearing loss, and you can get a 70% on average, that's anxiety, condition awarded to that 0%, if that's making sense. So you can go from a 0% rating, you only have hearing loss rated, and you can attach anxiety onto that and win big, okay? This happens a lot. So service connection is the bread and butter for what we're going to be talking about, because again, 80% of you need this, and this is the difference maker between you and thousands of extra dollars per month for your loved ones. How do we tackle this? Let's get this first one out the way, something that almost none of us have, and that's records from being treated in service. Okay, so somehow miraculously you spoke with the doctors about your anxiety while you were still serving, and they miraculously took perfect notes and gave you the diagnosis, and miraculously those records did not get burned up in a fire, and you're able to turn those into the VA, and life's great because you just got approved the easiest way possible. That's the best way to get approved. But I'll tell you, almost none, especially my clients, almost none of my clients have actual records from in-service. So if you have those, you're one of the fortunate few. But if not, don't worry about it. We win all the time without them. And one of the big ways you can do this is with this next method. You can win this with something called a Nexus Letter, okay? A Nexus Letter is a doctor's note, very quickly, that they're giving their medical opinion as a medical expert that it's at least as likely as not, so a 50% or greater chance that in this case your anxiety is related to your military service or caused by an existing condition that's rated at 0% or higher already by the VA. That's that example of the hearing loss that was causing the anxiety that I gave you. That hearing loss could be anything. That could be shoulder pain that's giving you anxiety. You don't know when your next flare-up is going to occur. It could be migraines. Maybe you're 0% for migraines right now, but you don't know when your next attack is going to happen, and that's triggering a lot of anxiety for you. You tried to go to your grandkids' baseball game, but you couldn't because you were lying down rotating ice packs, and that's causing you mental distress. Anything under the sun, essentially, can have a Nexus Letter written for it by a medical provider, given that they believe in that that's their honest opinion, that it's at least as likely as not that was the connection. Is that making sense? So you could get a Nexus Letter for any condition to connect anything, provided the medical expert has that belief. So it really opens up your ability to have options by way of getting things service connected, especially if you already have some conditions that you're already rated for. Now you have all kinds of options to where you can connect this anxiety to, provided, again, your provider agrees. Now, what happens when your medical providers don't want to sign a Nexus Letter for you? That's almost inevitable for most of us, right? Well, that's when you're going to want to enlist the help of some veteran-friendly doctors who are board certified. So these are the top-level doctors who can go to bat for you and actually do a records review of your medical records, and they can give their Nexus opinion, write their thesis on how your anxiety is connected to service, or again, connected to an existing condition that's already rated by the VA. The best place to do this is vadisabilitydoctors.com. I created this website, I curate this website, and it's to solve that exact issue that, hey, my doctors don't want to sign my Nexus Letters for me, and that could be a big win for you. But try with your doctors first, because it could get pricey paying for board certified doctors' time out of pocket to do all those records reviews and the writing for you, okay? So try with your own doctors first, and if not, try vadisabilitydoctors.com. That could be a massive secret weapon for getting a service connected, okay? Again, you're doing a great job here. Just absorb this information. You don't have to memorize everything. You can always come back to this video as well. Now, quick question for you. A Nexus Letter, of course, is a form of medical evidence. Even though it's after you served, that's still medical evidence because it's a doctor writing their opinion on your behalf, right? But what's an additional type of evidence that you could use synergistically with your medical evidence that turbocharges it and gets your claim across the finish line? It's a form of a letter or a statement. My regulars know, a personal statement, okay? So a personal statement could be used not only for getting service connection, but it could actually be used to help increase your rating, or when you do get rated, that you get the highest rating that you deserve as well. Now, a personal statement is a letter that you're writing, okay? This could be on form VA 21-4138. You don't have to remember that. You could just Google VA personal statement form. It'll pop right up for you. But this is so powerful because this is your one opportunity to really premeditate. Be careful with your words. You know, you're not under pressure. You're not at the C&P exam where you're all nervous and stuff like that. But you really get to think about what you want to present and to deliver directly to your VA rater in your own words. And it counts as actual evidence in your file. So many veterans who have gotten denied on their claims or have been underrated, a lot of times that's because they utilize, you know, bless their hearts, but you know, a free VSO service, and they were not told that they should write personal statements, and they weren't set up for success. Okay, so don't let that be you going forward, because there's a tremendous amount of opportunity if you write a correct, well-worded personal statement. And I do personal statement drafts on behalf of my clients, custom, to show exactly how to translate their story into the VA's language. So deep diving into how to write personal statements is a little outside the scope of this video, and especially for my clients, you don't even have to worry about it. I'll write the drafts for you. You edit as needed and make sure that it's good before submitting. But a couple of things that you're going to want to have. Number one, most importantly, if this is not an increase claim, if you're applying for service connection, you're dang sure going to want to talk about how your anxiety is related to your service. But what else are you going to want to talk about? Remember, personal statements can be used not only for the service connection portion, but what else could they be used for? How much you're rated. And what is the third step in VA claims that determines what your rating is? It's severity. Okay, so that's the other portion of what you're going to want to include in your personal statement, is how severe your anxiety is. And let me show you exactly the formula that you want to use so that you're not just, you know, venting to the examiner or venting to your rater, and you're on target talking about the things that the VA actually cares about in determining your rating. So last one here, I'm going to break down severity for you to where it's super simple, and you're going to say, ah, that's why I've been underrated for my anxiety, or that's what I missed last C&P exam. If you're getting value from this video, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button for me. That'd be amazing. The VA cares about two primary factors with severity, okay? They care about your job/career, and they care about your personal relationships or your social life, okay? You'll see this if you ever look at 38 CFR, which is the guiding criteria for how the VA is supposed to rate you for mental disabilities. You'll see the term social and occupational impairment thrown around all the time. That's what this means. In plain terms, it's, hey, how does your anxiety negatively impact your job or career, or perhaps you're out of a job or career in large part or in part because of this anxiety. I have a lot of clients where it's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm retired. I'm only 61, but I'm retired right now because, yeah, I just can't work in the office environment. So a lot of you would wonder, like, I can't talk about my job. I don't have a job. Well, that's it right there. That's your leverage, is because you don't have a job. Why? It's because you don't really mesh well with that environment because of your anxiety. And guess what? Being out of a job or out of a career because of this mental condition qualifies as what the VA determines as total occupational impairment, which is part of the 100% VA rating criteria. Okay, so again, it's all about taking your situation and knowing how to translate that into the VA's black and white language. Relationships and social. This could manifest in, you know, a lot of different ways. Maybe you're acting inappropriately in front of people. Maybe you're just a recluse. You stay at home. You're a hermit. You don't really socialize with people. You don't go out in large groups. Whatever it is, the VA is going to want to hear about that. I want to give you the two targets after, of course, you talk about how this is connected to your service or how it's connected to your hearing loss, your migraines, whatever it is that's already service connected. Talk about your relationships and social life. Maybe you had a divorce because of these issues in part, right? That's huge. You want to, in this case, I hate to say it, you want to focus on the negative, right? You don't want to talk about how you're coping with this, how you adjust to where, if you can manage. You want to talk about the real negatives that actually impact you. That's what the VA wants to hear about that. How does it negatively impact your job and your relationships? And that will ensure that you get that at least average 70% disability rating for mental. That's average. And vast majority of people who write their personal statements that include this get at least that average, or if not, if you're more severe, the 100% rating. So, quick 20-second wrap up. How do we make sure you get through these 3 phases of a VA claim so you could get thousands of extra dollars per month? Number 1, we're coming equipped with a medical diagnosis. How do you know you have the diagnosis? Because you checked your medical records and you verified with your eyes that you have that diagnosis. Boom, that's check. Number 2, service connection. This is where most of us get stuck. How do we ensure that we can get this diagnosis now connected to our service? Well, number 1, you can think creatively on, my existing service connected back pain that I have a 10% or even a 0% rating for is actually kind of been bumming me out. Let me see if my psychiatrist thinks that my anxiety could be related to my existing service connected back pain. Let me get a Nexus Letter to help me service connect this condition. Or if you don't have your provider who's willing to do that, again, vadisabilitydoctors.com. Link for that in the description and the pinned comment as well. And then finally, how do we tie this together, the service connection with the severity so that you can actually get the rating that you deserve? Well, with a quality personal statement. You can become a client at VA Claims Academy, where I personally review and make sure your lay evidence is solid and ironclad. Okay, this is how we do this. And what will we talk about in this severity? What do you talk about to your examiner come the day of your compensation and pension exam? How your anxiety is affecting you at work, how it's affecting your relationships, and of course, how it's connected to your service. Fellow vets, that is how you win your anxiety rating, upwards of a 100% disability rating. I really hope this helped you. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.